two twin girls, without a home, were navigating a double stroller carrying their twin babies through the snowy landscape. As the young billionaire swung open the door to his opulent mansion, he stumbled upon a hidden truth that shattered his heart. The wind roared relentlessly through the empty avenues of New York, whisking snowflakes that twirled in the icy atmosphere before landing on the chilled pavement. Amidst the intensifying storm, two diminutive silhouettes emerged against the snowy expanse, battling the unseen force that sought to drive them away. Emma and Olivia, identical twins just 5 years old, held tightly to the baby stroller they were pushing. Their fingers, tinged with red and numbed by the chill, struggled to hold on to the icy metal handles. Their cherubic faces, adorned with golden curls escaping from worn hats, bore a resolve that felt incongruous for such youthful souls. "We must press on, live," Emma murmured, her words nearly drowned out by the tempest's fury. "The infants require our attention," Olivia acknowledged with a quiet nod, blinking to remove the snowflakes that had gathered on her eyelashes. In the stroller, shielded by a cascade of worn blankets, two infants slumbered peacefully, unaware of the turmoil swirling in their midst. The twins advanced slowly, their little boots plunging into the snow that had piled up to their knees. The neighborhood they traversed stood in sharp contrast to their disheveled look. Grand mansions towered along the street, their glowing windows radiating a cozy light that appeared to taunt the children braving the chill outside. Emma faltered, on the brink of losing her balance, when Olivia swiftly caught her by the arm. "Be careful, Em," she cautioned, her blue eyes reflecting genuine concern. "Always keep in mind what Mom used to say, we must look out for one another." Bringing up their mother caused a pause, as both of them found their thoughts wandering to memories from a not-so-distant past, which felt as if it belonged to another existence altogether. The summer sun enveloped the small apartment in a warm, golden light, transforming the tired furniture into something that appeared almost fresh and inviting. Sarah, the twins' mother, twirled through the living room, grasping Emma and Olivia's hands as their laughter filled the air, dancing joyfully to the lively melody emanating from the vintage radio on the table. "My dear little princesses," Sarah exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with affection, "you are the most precious gift I could ever wish for. Text regardless of the circumstances, our bond will remain unbreakable." The girls beamed, enveloped in the warmth and affection of their mother's embrace, blissfully unaware that those cherished moments would soon fade into the realm of nostalgia. A piercing noise sliced through the atmosphere, snapping Emma and Olivia back to the unforgiving truth. A baby stirred from slumber, its cries piercing the silence of the empty street. "Hush, hush," Olivia whispered, bending closer to the stroller in an attempt to calm the tiny occupant. "Everything will be all right, I assure you." Yet, even she sensed the emptiness in the words. The twins had gone without food since the morning of the day before, and the biting cold appeared to sap the final remnants of strength from their delicate frames. Their stomachs ached with hunger, a harsh reminder of the time that had passed since they last enjoyed a proper meal. Emma scanned her surroundings, yearning for a glimmer of assistance. The grand mansion stood resolute, their doors tightly sealed against the chill and any unwelcome visitors. For a fleeting instant, she contemplated rapping on one of the doors, pleading for assistance, yet trepidation held her back. What if unkind individuals discovered them? What if they attempted to divide them? "We can't stop," Emma uttered, her voice quivering with the chill and fatigue that enveloped her. "We must locate a secure haven for the infants," Olivia concurred, yet her eyes revealed the exhaustion that loomed over her. The couple continued to push the stroller, their movements deliberate and cautious as they navigated the perilous snow. As they walked along the street, memories flooded back, snippets of a life that felt like it belonged to another time. The aroma of pancakes wafted through the cozy kitchen, stirring the twins' appetites with eager anticipation. With a warm smile, Sarah deftly flipped the pancakes on the griddle, the delightful sound of sizzling oil harmonizing with the joyful laughter of the girls. "Who would like to lend a hand today?" Sarah inquired, casting a sly look over her shoulder, a playful grin dancing on her lips. "Who, me? Who, me?" Emma and Olivia exclaimed together, leaping from their chairs at the table. Sarah's laughter rang out, a melody that wrapped around those nearby like a warm embrace. Both of you can assist. Emma, why don't you grab the plates, and Olivia, could you pick out the toppings? The girls rushed to complete their tasks, delighted to contribute and engage in the cherished family ritual that made every morning unique. A sudden, powerful gust of wind jolted Olivia from her reverie, almost sending her tumbling. Emma swiftly steadied her, their gazes locking in a fleeting moment of unspoken connection. Regardless of the challenges they faced, their bond remained unbreakable, and their commitment to safeguarding the little ones was unwavering. The stroller creaked in resistance as the twins maneuvered it over a notably high snowdrift. In a heart-stopping instant, it appeared as though it might topple, yet the girls summoned every ounce of strength remaining to maintain its balance. Nearly there, Emma whispered to herself, even though she was completely unsure of their destination. The snow descended with increasing intensity, reducing visibility to mere feet in front of me. The mansion's lights transformed into hazy spots, resembling far-off lighthouses in an expanse of white. The infants started to whimper once more, their little faces twisted in discomfort from the chill and their need for nourishment. Olivia attempted to hum a lullaby, the very one their mother used to sing, but her voice emerged unsteady and frail. "Mommy," Emma murmured, a lone tear crystallizing on her cheek. "Where might you be?" The twins forged ahead, two small specks of resolve against the endless, unforgiving expanse of white. Their steps, though uncertain, embodied a profound love that transcended their years, a fierce instinct to protect that propelled them onward, even when each movement seemed like an arduous task. As Emma and Olivia battled the tempest, just a few blocks away, in a grand mansion that towered over the neighborhood, Michael Reeves observed the swirling snow through the expansive window of his living room, a glass of 30-year-old whiskey cradled in his hand. At 32, Michael stood as a shining example of achievement in the public's gaze. A wealthy magnate, the proprietor of a vast real estate portfolio, and one of the most sought-after bachelors in New York. As the city disappeared under a blanket of white, Michael was left with a sense of haunting emptiness. The grand mansion, sprawling over 16,000 square feet of extravagant opulence, appeared to taunt his solitude. Countless masterpieces graced the walls, yet his gaze scarcely acknowledged their presence any longer. The stillness was punctuated solely by the sporadic crackle of the fireplace and the delicate clink of ice in his glass. Michael savored the warmth of the whiskey as he took a long sip, feeling it glide down his throat. His thoughts wandered to the day's happenings, a series of discussions and deals that had led to yet another profitable addition to his collection. The newest endeavor, an upscale apartment building in the heart of the city, was set to become his most lucrative undertaking to date. Indeed, complications arose, as they often do. Families would have to move, and local businesses would shut down. Yet, he reassured himself, it was the cost of advancement. The city was in a state of perpetual transformation, and he was effortlessly navigating the currents of its evolution. A sardonic smile played on his lips as he remembered his father's words. In this realm, Michael, one is either a predator or prey, and predators never express remorse for their instincts. From an early age, Michael had fully adopted that philosophy. Each deal, each acquisition, each courtroom triumph elevated him, distancing him from the uncertain boy he had been. A relentless drive stemmed from the fear of poverty and insignificance. His techniques were not always above board. Corruption lurks in every corner, with bribes exchanged and veiled threats looming, as contracts and zoning laws are twisted to serve hidden agendas. Yet, he reassured himself during those restless nights that the outcome always validated the journey taken. The phone rang, shattering the stillness with a sharp intrusion. Michael's brow furrowed as he glanced at the clock. Approaching the stroke of midnight. Who would have the audacity to ring at such an hour? Michael Reeves, he replied, his tone icy and measured. Mr. Reeves. The voice on the other end was soft, barely audible, like a secret shared in the shadows. I possess details regarding the Riverside project that you will find intriguing. Michael stood tall, every fiber of his being attuned to the moment. Riverside stood as his masterpiece, a multi-billion-dollar venture poised to revolutionize an entire urban landscape. Who might this be? That is of no consequence. What truly counts is the existence of documents, evidence of the reality faced by those families in your vicinity. Michael felt a chill seep through him. I have no idea what you're referring to, he responded, maintaining a calm tone. A dry chuckle echoed from the other end of the line. Oh, I believe you do, Mr. Reeves. The dangers, the serendipitous mishaps, the falsified documents. Everything is recorded. Michael clutched the phone with such intensity that his fingers lost all color. What is it that you desire? This serves merely as a caution, Mr. Reeves. A gentle nudge that no amount of wealth can conceal the truth indefinitely. Rest peacefully. The connection was lost. Michael remained motionless for an extended moment, the phone still held to his ear. Thoughts surged through his mind, evaluating options, dangers, and remedies. Who might be responsible for this? A bitter ex-employee, a displaced individual on a quest for retribution. With a frustrated huff, he tossed the phone onto the couch. He craved another drink. As he made his way to the bar, Michael sought to steady his nerves. This was not the initial occasion he encountered threats or blackmail. He assembled a formidable team of legal experts prepared to dismantle any allegation. Sufficient funds to hush the majority. Yet there was an unsettling quality to this call that weighed on him more than it typically did. The caller's tone was serene, tinged with a hint of amusement, suggesting they possessed knowledge that eluded Michael. As he filled his glass with more whiskey, Michael turned back to the window. The snow descended with increasing intensity, transforming the exterior into a swirling canvas of white. For a fleeting instant, he permitted himself to envision vanishing into that expansive blankness. Departing from the agreements, the obligations, the relentless plotting. However, that is not the case. He was Michael Reeves. He had toiled relentlessly, giving up so much to reach his current position. No faceless menace would alter that. Resolute in his decision to not allow the call to spoil his evening, Michael was on the verge of heading back to his office when a sound caught his attention. A subtle whisper, almost lost amidst the fierce gusts of the wind. Rap, rap, rap. A persistent knock echoed through the quiet space, drawing his attention to the door. The knocks on the door reverberated once more, this time with a heightened sense of urgency. Sliced through the mansion's stillness with precision. Michael Reeves remained motionless for a brief moment, his body taut, still gripping his whiskey glass. The enigmatic phone call he had just received echoed in his thoughts, leaving him in a state of unease. Who on earth could be knocking at his door at such an hour, amidst the raging snowstorm? His initial reaction was to dismiss it, to act as if he were not present. Clearly, it would be unreasonable for anyone to anticipate him opening the door in the midst of such a tempest. Yet the knocking persisted, now joined by a noise that caused Michael to furrow his brow in bewilderment. Was that, weeping? The wail of a young one. Compelled by an insatiable curiosity that overshadowed his typical caution, Michael approached the door. Gazing through the peephole, he strained to discern any shapes, yet the tempest rendered clarity elusive. All he could make out were vague, shadowy forms set against the raging white of the snow. He unlocked the door and opened it, letting out an exasperated sigh tinged with apprehension. The frigid gust hit him at once, ushering in a flurry of snowflakes into the entrance hall. Yet it wasn't the chill that caused Michael to become paralyzed. What lay before him was a vision to behold. Two tiny girls, perhaps 5 or 6 years old, stood at his doorstep, he noted, identical twins with tousled blonde hair and pale faces, a testament to the chill in the air. Those large, azure eyes gazed at him, reflecting a blend of trepidation and aspiration, with a baby stroller positioned just behind them. Michael detected the soft whimpers emanating from within. "Please," one of the girls whispered, her voice barely audible over the wind, "can we come in?" Michael stood there, his thoughts swirling in a whirlwind as he took in the bizarre spectacle unfolding before him. A fragment of his mind, the detached and strategic segment that had propelled him to the pinnacle of the corporate realm, urged him to close the door, to contact the authorities, social services, or anyone else to handle this unforeseen predicament. Yet, another facet of his being, one he believed had perished ages ago, found itself inexplicably captivated by the beseeching gazes of these children. "Where did you come from?" he managed, his voice sharper than he meant it to be. The other twin moved ahead, positioning herself defensively in front of her sister. "Our home has vanished, please preserve it, the chill is unbearable." In a striking display of nature's force, a powerful gust of wind swept through, causing the girls to shiver noticeably. Michael gazed beyond them at the snow-blanketed street, devoid of any adults, vehicles, or anything but the unyielding storm. "Where are your parents?" he inquired, a trace of doubt lacing his tone. The twins shared a fleeting look, an unspoken understanding flowing between them. We aren't sure," the first twin replied, her voice quivering. "Mother instructed us to care for the little ones, to seek out a secure location." The baby's cries intensified, a heart-wrenching sound that cut through Michael's heart like a knife. In spite of his attempts to stay uninvolved, he discovered he had reached a standstill. His whole adult existence had been shaped by a meticulous strategy, consistently prioritizing his own interests. Allowing 4 unfamiliar children into his home in the dead of night clashed with every instinct of self-preservation he possessed. Yet, as he paused, visions of the families he had uprooted for his property ventures surged in his thoughts. Faceless individuals he'd overlooked, lives he'd brushed off as insignificant hurdles in his pursuit of achievement. "Please," the second twin implored once more, her tiny hand clutching the door's edge, as though fearing it might shut at any instant. Michael shut his eyes briefly, inhaling deeply. Upon opening them, he had reached his conclusion. "Enter," he said suddenly, moving aside. "Hurry, before the warmth slips away." The twins eagerly accepted the invitation without hesitation. With unexpected vigor for their tender age, they skillfully navigated the stroller indoors, leaving behind delicate traces of melting snow. Michael closed the door, instantly muffling the tumult of the storm outside. The juxtaposition of the tumult beyond and the unexpected stillness within felt almost dreamlike. He pivoted to confront his unanticipated visitors, truly observing them for the first time in the gentle glow of the foyer. The twins found themselves in a woeful condition, their meager attire damp and frayed in several spots. Their faces and hands bore the crimson hue of the cold, while shivers danced visibly through their small frames. The stroller was hardly in a more favorable condition. It bore the marks of time, its age evident in the worn surfaces and the distinctly bent wheel. The infants within, appearing to be twins, were swathed in delicate blankets and appeared to be quite fidgety. "You're freezing," Michael whispered, more to himself than anyone else. Years of putting work before his own needs had rendered him ill-equipped to navigate this situation. "Well, please join us. The living room feels cozier." He led the children into the expansive living room, where the fireplace continued to crackle softly. The twins instinctively drew nearer to the fire, extending their quivering little hands to bask in the comforting warmth. Michael observed them for a moment, a sense of disconnection washing over him in the familiarity of his own home. At last, he took a moment to clear his throat. "You seem to be quite hungry." The twins glanced at him, their eyes reflecting a blend of anticipation and wariness. They exchanged silent nods. "All right," Michael said, nervously running a hand through his hair. "I'll take a look at what's available in the kitchen." "Remain in this spot, and refrain from touching anything," he remarked, surveying the lavish artwork and antiques dispersed throughout the room. In the kitchen, Michael gazed at the stainless steel fridge, hoping it might offer some clarity in the midst of the surreal situation he faced. What was provided for children to eat? His diet primarily featured lavish pre-packaged meals and takeout from high-end eateries. After a few hurried minutes of searching, he successfully collected some items that appeared suitable: apples, cheese, a few crackers, and a bottle of milk that he wished wasn't past its prime. Upon his return to the living room, he found the twins comfortably arranged on the rug by the fireplace, with the stroller placed strategically between them. One of them bent down close to the stroller, whispering gently to the little ones. Michael cleared his throat, signaling that he was there. He hesitated for a moment, then announced, I found some things to eat, as he set the makeshift tray down on the floor beside them. The girls gazed at the food, their eyes wide with disbelief, as if they were witnessing something extraordinary. "Is it possible for us to do that?" one of them inquired softly. Michael nodded, sensing a flicker of an idea. Remorse? Sympathy? He found himself unfamiliar with both feelings. "Of course, go ahead and eat," he observed quietly as the twins consumed the food with an insatiable appetite that hinted at days, perhaps weeks, of scarcity. They dined with care, taking turns to nourish themselves while also sharing tiny morsels of apple and cheese with the little ones. At last, as their speed diminished, Michael settled into a nearby armchair. He started, making an effort to maintain a steady tone. "You mentioned that you no longer have a place to call home. Can you clarify what transpired?" The twins shared yet another of those wordless glances, rich with unspoken dialogue and meaning. It was the large yellow machine, one of them finally remarked. One day, it arrived and began to topple everything in its path. "Mom said we needed to hurry up and go." Michael sensed a tightness coil within him. Machines in a vibrant shade of yellow. Destruction. That resonated in an unsettling way. "And where is your mother at this moment?" He applied a soft pressure. The other twin responded this time, her voice quivering just a bit. "We are uncertain. She departed, leaving us with the little ones, promising she would return. However, that was quite some time ago." Michael reclined in his chair, his thoughts swirling around him. A part of him felt compelled to delve deeper, to uncover the precise origins of these children. Yet, a different aspect, one he scarcely acknowledged, faltered at the thought of bringing them further anguish. "What do you call yourselves?" he inquired instead, choosing a softer method. "I'm Emma," said the twin who had spoken first. "This is my sister, Olivia." Olivia offered a hesitant wave, her gaze fixed intently on Michael's face, as if weighing the potential danger he posed. Michael leaned forward slightly, peering into the stroller, curious about the babies. "They are our younger siblings," Emma responded. "Ethan and Noah." Michael nodded thoughtfully, attempting to absorb everything. "For children, stranded on the street amidst a swirling snowstorm. Their dwelling reduced to rubble by the relentless advance of yellow machinery. A mother who is nowhere to be found." Everything felt utterly perplexing. You have no other family. Is there anyone who can look after you?" he inquired, somewhat wishing for an easy answer to this unforeseen dilemma. Emma and Olivia shared a fleeting glance before Emma responded, "No, sir. It's only us and Mom," Michael sighed, rubbing his hand across his face. He found himself utterly overwhelmed. Managing contracts, navigating negotiations, and confronting threats was one aspect. However, for delicate children in his living room, this was uncharted ground. He spoke at last, his voice breaking the silence. "The hour is late, and it's clear that rest is essential for you. You have the ability to. You are welcome to spend the night here. We'll sort things out tomorrow, sound good?" The twins nodded, a sense of relief washing over their weary expressions. "Thank you, sir," Olivia said softly, her gaze fixed on Michael as she spoke to him for the first time. "Your kindness is truly appreciated." Michael experienced a flutter in his chest at the sound of those words. Gentle was not a term often associated with him. Unforgiving, calculating, and harsh. Indeed, yet with a gentle touch. "Absolutely not. I'll prepare a place for you to rest," he said, rising suddenly. "Please remain here, all right? I shall return shortly." As he ascended the stairs leading to the guest rooms, Michael endeavored to arrange his thoughts. What was he up to? Allowing these children to remain was one decision, but what comes next? He couldn't simply hold on to them forever. Protocols had to be adhered to, and authorities needed to be informed. Yet, a persistent feeling tugged at him. The narrative of the twins, though somewhat indistinct, resonated with a sense of familiarity. Vibrant machines dismantling structures. That felt reminiscent of one of his revitalization endeavors. Surely, he must have been aware if children were involved, wouldn't he? Having arranged one of the guest rooms with fresh sheets and additional pillows, Michael made his way back to the living room. The sight that greeted him was utterly unexpected. Emma and Olivia sat comfortably on the sofa, the babies cozily tucked in between them. The four children lay in deep slumber, their small bodies weary from the trials they had faced. It was a scene of such tranquility and homeliness that Michael sensed a tightening within him. For a brief instant, he contemplated rousing them and leading them upstairs to the room he had meticulously arranged. Yet they appeared so at ease, so serene, that he couldn't bring himself to disturb them. Instead, he took a few blankets from a nearby cabinet and softly draped them over the slumbering children. With a gentle retreat, Michael positioned himself by the window once more, observing the relentless storm unfolding beyond the glass. His reflection in the glass gazed back, and for the first time in years, he found himself unrecognizable in the visage before him. He let out a deep sigh as he reached for his phone. There were conversations to initiate, details to collect. He was compelled to delve deeper into the lives of these children, to uncover their narrative. Moreover, he had to determine if, in any way, he bore some responsibility for their predicament. With a final glance at the peaceful children nestled on the sofa, Michael stepped out of the living room, gently shutting the door behind him. The night stretched ahead, filled with countless revelations waiting to unfold before dawn. The ensuing hours unfolded in a haze of hushed conversations and urgent online inquiries. Michael tapped into every connection and resource available to him in his quest to uncover the children's origins, yet the information remained frustratingly elusive. No recent records of demolitions in residential areas aligned with the twins' ambiguous descriptions could be found. There have been no reports of missing children that matched their description. They seemed to materialize from the very heart of the tempest, as if the storm itself had summoned them forth. As the evening progressed, Michael's frustration deepened, intertwining with a growing sense of intrigue. The elements just didn't align. What could possibly lead to the disappearance of four children without a single clue, and why did their tale, despite its ambiguity, resonate so deeply? Weary and burdened with an abundance of questions, Michael ultimately resolved to seek solace in sleep. Tomorrow, he mused, would present an opportunity to engage further with the twins, perhaps uncovering additional clues that might aid in solving the enigma. Before retiring for the night, he took a final, quiet stroll through the living room. The little ones lay in peaceful slumber, their tiny bodies nearly concealed beneath the cozy blankets. For a moment, Michael simply observed them, experiencing an odd blend of bewilderment and something else, something he couldn't quite identify. As Michael ascended the stairs to his bedroom, he couldn't shake the feeling that his vast mansion, typically so quiet and devoid of life, had an unusual atmosphere this evening. The arrival of the children, albeit brief, infused the environment with a delicate yet distinct shift in energy. Reclining in his opulent bed, Michael discovered he was unable to drift off to sleep. His mind wandered repeatedly to the twins and the infants, to their enigmatic tale, and to the disquieting feeling that, in some way, he was intertwined with it all. As the sun started to ascend, casting a warm glow of pink and gold across the horizon, Michael was already awake. The tempest had swept through the night, departing to reveal a tranquil, snow-covered landscape. As he stood by his bedroom window, gazing at the untouched snow blanketing the world outside, a resolution began to form within him. Today, he would uncover the truth. Regardless of the obstacles, he was determined to uncover the reality surrounding Emma, Olivia, Ethan, and Noah. And most crucially, he would uncover his place in this unforeseen narrative that had quite literally arrived at his doorstep. With that determination in mind, Michael readied himself to confront the day and the surprises it might unveil. Unbeknownst to him, the revelations he was searching for would transform not just the destinies of those four slumbering children, but his own as well, in ways he could scarcely envision. The sun had just begun to rise when Michael Reeves found himself in his office, phone pressed to his ear. His voice, usually firm and authoritative, now conveyed a sense of urgency that was hard to miss. "I demand a thorough inquiry, Johnson. Ensure your team understands it clearly. Careful consideration is essential in this context. Straightforward, no superfluous inquiries, only outcomes." On the other end of the line, Michael's most trusted private investigator recognized the gravity of the situation. "Rest assured, Mr. Reeves, we will manage this with great care. Could you provide us with any preliminary details?" Michael paused for a moment, his gaze wandering instinctively to the shut door of his office, behind which 4 enigmatic children lay in slumber. 4 little ones, twin girls about 5 years of age and twin baby boys. It seems they have recently faced the unfortunate loss of their home due to a demolition. The mother has vanished. 2 recognized family members. A silence lingered on the line, and Michael could nearly sense the detective's thoughts whirring into action. "Got it, sir. Let's dive in immediately. I require additional information regarding the children. Names, physical attributes, details regarding their possible origins." "I'll send everything within the hour," Michael responded, mentally sorting through the limited information he'd collected over the last day. "And, Johnson, I expect daily updates, regardless of how trivial the details might appear." After hanging up, Michael reclined in his leather chair, massaging his temples in a weary manner. The restless night and the weight of the circumstances were beginning to take their toll on him, yet there was no moment to pause. A great deal awaited attention. A gentle rap on the door broke the silence of his contemplation. "Come in," he beckoned, adjusting his posture. The door creaked open, unveiling Emma and Olivia, clad in the baggy garments he had fashioned for them just the night before. Their golden hair lay in disarray from slumber, and their eyes, though still bearing traces of weariness, appeared more vibrant than ever. "Good morning, sir," Emma said softly. "I apologize for the interruption. It's simply... well, the little ones are up and..." With a sense of urgency in her voice, Olivia finished, her hunger palpable. Michael rose abruptly, a sense of unexpected unpreparedness washing over him. "Absolutely, absolutely. Let's explore our options regarding that." As he led the twins back to the living room, where the babies were beginning to whimper in the crib he'd arranged, Michael took a moment to scrutinize the girls more intently. Their movements and speech carried an air of maturity that felt oddly mismatched for their tender age. In the kitchen, while preparing baby bottles following a swift online search for proper techniques, Michael resolved to delve deeper for additional insights. He started to measure out the formula with a relaxed demeanor. "Yesterday, you brought up a yellow machine. Could you elaborate on that?" The twins shared a fleeting glance, that unspoken understanding he had observed previously. "It was frightening," Olivia finally admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "It created quite a commotion. And the dust settles. Dust filled the air in thick clouds." "Indeed," Emma concurred, her gaze far away, as though she were revisiting the past. "Mom was extremely upset. She shouted at the men in helmets, yet they remained unmoved." Michael sensed a tightening knot in his stomach. This felt eerily reminiscent of one of his so-called urban renewal projects, but surely he would have been aware if there were children at stake. "Isn't that so?" He then leaned in softly, offering the bottles to the girls. "Where have you ventured off to?" Once more, that silent communication through their eyes. "Many places," Emma replied with a hint of uncertainty, "yet none could compare to the warmth of our home." Michael nodded, realizing that he wouldn't extract any further information from them at this moment. The twins appeared to possess an innate skill for evasion whenever they chose to employ it. The subsequent days settled into an odd, yet not entirely unwelcome rhythm. Michael, accustomed to the confines of business meetings and the solitude of his office, now discovered himself participating in pursuits he had never envisioned undertaking. He acquired the ability to change diapers, a talent he promised to keep under wraps in his social circles, mastered the art of preparing simple meals that the kids would actually enjoy, and even honed his skills in telling bedtime stories, although his rendition of Cinderella leaned more towards a business perspective than the classic narrative. In the meantime, Johnson's daily updates were exasperating due to their absence of tangible advancement. There are no records of missing children that align with these descriptions, nor any recent demolitions that correspond with the twins' ambiguous narrative. It felt as though the children had materialized from thin air. On a serene afternoon, as Michael observed Emma and Olivia frolicking in the snow-blanketed backyard, Olivia uttered a remark that shifted the entire atmosphere. "You know," she said nonchalantly, forming a snowball, "this snow takes me back to the day the big yellow machine arrived. It was snowing like this, but the snow became all grimy from the dust when our house collapsed." Michael, engrossed in his emails on his phone, almost let it slip from his grasp. "Excuse me, could you clarify that?" "As the snow fell softly, your house met its untimely end." Olivia appeared to grasp the weight of her words, swiftly shifting the conversation by inquiring if they could construct a snowman. Yet Michael's thoughts were already in a whirlwind. If snow had been falling when the house was demolished, it indicated that the event had occurred not long ago. Just now. It was all the more peculiar that there were no documents or accounts regarding it. That evening, after tucking the children in, a task he was beginning to find pleasure in, Michael unexpectedly dialed Johnson once more. He instructed that the entire search be redone, emphasizing a focus solely on the past 2 months, with particular attention to any demolition activity that occurred during the recent snowstorms. As he awaited fresh opportunities, Michael discovered he was increasingly drawn to spending time with the children. He observed with great interest as Emma and Olivia tended to the babies with a skill that appeared to surpass their age. It was as if they possessed an uncanny ability to anticipate Ethan and Noah's needs, sensing them even before the first cries broke the silence. In the midst of these observations, Michael detected something unusual about Noah. The infant appeared more subdued than normal, his skin warm against my fingers. "I believe he has a fever," Emma remarked, concern clear in her tone. "Mother always advised us to be mindful of that." Michael experienced a wave of anxiety. Though infant illnesses weren't his area of expertise, the fear reflected in the twins' eyes compelled him to take action. The following hours unfolded in a haze of icy cloths, fever assessments, and urgent searches through health-related sites. Michael held Noah close, softly whispering soothing words that seemed to flow from a place deep within him, words he hadn't even known he possessed. In the midst of that endless night, while he cradled the feverish baby, Michael came to a profound realization that something had shifted. These were not merely 4 unfamiliar faces disrupting his meticulously arranged existence. At a certain point in time, he found himself beginning to care. Truly show concern. As dawn broke and Noah's fever started to fade, Michael gazed at the 4 children peacefully slumbering nearby. The twins were determined to stay up and lend a hand, awakening within him a feeling he hadn't experienced in years, a profound sense of purpose that transcended mere financial gain and the pursuit of empires. He felt compelled to uncover the truth about these children, driven not merely by curiosity or a desire for self-preservation, but because their well-being had unexpectedly taken on a significance in his life. His phone buzzed in his pocket, the display lighting up with Johnson's name. With great care, ensuring that Noah remained undisturbed in his embrace, Michael responded. "Mr. Reeves," Johnson's voice carried a sense of urgency. "I believe we've discovered something intriguing. There's something you must check out immediately." Michael gazed at the peaceful children, then shifted his attention to the infant cradled in his arms. Whatever Johnson had uncovered, he sensed it was poised to alter the course of everything, and for the first time in his life, Michael Reeves found himself uncertain about his readiness to face the truth. With the dawn breaking over the city, its golden rays streaming through the mansion's windows, Michael stood at a pivotal moment in his life. Johnson's anxious voice on the phone hinted at solutions, yet the peaceful slumber of the children nearby, particularly young Noah, still delicate from the previous night's illness, caused him to pause. "What's your estimated time of arrival?" Johnson?" Michael inquired softly, mindful of the children's slumber. "I'll arrive in 30 minutes, Mr. Reeves," the detective responded. Michael cast his gaze upon the children once more. "Extend it to an hour." "What about Johnson?" "Be ready for an extended visit. It seems there will be plenty for us to delve into." Once the call ended, Michael gently returned Noah to the improvised crib. The infant shifted slightly yet remained in slumber. Beside him, Ethan slumbered serenely, oblivious to the turmoil swirling in their midst. Emma and Olivia nestled together beneath the blankets on the couch, their serene faces finally at peace after days filled with concern. Michael immersed himself in the details of their features, probing for hints about their history, striving to unravel the narrative that remained just out of reach. He let out a weary sigh as he made his way to the kitchen to brew some coffee. The morning stretched ahead, and he had to stay sharp for whatever revelations Johnson had brought to light. With the gentle hum of the coffee maker in the background, Michael took a brief pause to reflect. In a matter of days, everything in his life had been completely transformed. The man who once took great pride in his cutthroat business acumen, viewing individuals as mere pieces on his corporate chessboard, now discovered a profound commitment to the well-being of 4 young children. The gentle patter of footsteps interrupted his contemplation. Emma stepped into the kitchen, her eyes still heavy with sleep as she rubbed them gently. "Good morning, Mr. Michael," she whispered softly. "Is Noah superior?" Michael couldn't help but smile involuntarily. "Indeed, Emma," his fever subsided throughout the night. "He will be all right." A wave of relief swept across the girl's face. "That's excellent." Olivia and I felt a deep sense of concern. The maturity in her response and the depth of her concern sparked a renewed curiosity in Michael about the girl's past. What experiences had shaped them to cultivate such a profound sense of responsibility so early in life? "Emma," he started with caution, "you understand that you can rely on me, don't you? If there's something you wish to share, anything regarding yourself, Olivia, and the little ones." The girl gazed at him with her large blue eyes, a brief spark of feeling flickering within them. For a fleeting instant, Michael believed she might unveil the enigma that enveloped them. Yet, in an instant, the fleeting moment vanished as swiftly as it had come. "Thank you, Mr. Michael," she expressed with a touch of sincerity. "Your kindness towards us has been truly appreciated." Just as Michael was about to delve deeper, the doorbell chimed, signaling Johnson's arrival. The time for revelation had arrived. "Emma, perhaps you should go see how the others are doing. A friend is coming over to talk about some business matters." The girl nodded and exited the kitchen, casting one final inquisitive look at Michael before vanishing down the hallway. With a last, fortifying sip of coffee, Michael steeled himself and approached the door. Johnson remained poised, a substantial folder tucked beneath his arm, his expression solemn and contemplative. "Mr. Reeves," the detective acknowledged him with a brief nod. "This is something you may want to prepare yourself for." Guiding Johnson to his office, Michael cast a final glance at the living room where the children played. Whatever the investigator had unearthed, he understood that nothing would remain unchanged thereafter. As Michael closed the office door, he steeled himself to finally uncover the enigma that had quite literally come knocking on his door that snowy night. Unbeknownst to him, the truths that lay ahead would transform not just his view of the children, but also his understanding of himself and the empire he had constructed. Michael closed the office door, the sound of the lock clicking echoing with a sense of finality. Johnson sat poised, the substantial folder spread wide on the gleaming mahogany desk. Michael was acutely aware of the stark difference between the room's formal atmosphere and the intimate nature of the investigation at hand. "What have you discovered, Johnson?" Michael inquired, his tone revealing a tension he was reluctant to acknowledge. The detective inhaled deeply, steeling himself before he commenced. "Mr. Reeves, do you recall the Riverside project?" Michael scowled. Certainly, he recalled. It stood as one of his boldest and most contentious projects, a vision to transform a neglected part of the city into an upscale community. "Absolutely, without a doubt." What's the deal with it? Johnson pushed a photograph over the surface of the desk. The image captured a bird's-eye view of a neighborhood, unmistakably snapped prior to the onset of the demolitions. Unassuming homes bordered the tight lanes, with a smattering of trees scattered about, and a quaint little park nestled in the heart. Mill Creek, Johnson remarked, was once home to around 200 families until just 3 months prior. Michael lifted the photograph, examining it with great attention. The view held an air of familiarity, yet he struggled to pinpoint its origin. Johnson pressed on. Notices of eviction began to be distributed approximately 6 months prior. Most families had already departed when the demolitions commenced, yet there were complications. What types of complications are we discussing? Michael inquired, although a part of him already had an inkling. The detective extracted yet another document from the folder, a police report. Protests erupted. A number of residents chose to stay behind. Things took a turn. Michael experienced a wave of nausea. He recalled catching wind of some protests, yet back then, it felt merely like another hurdle to navigate. His legal team had guaranteed him that all matters were addressed in accordance with the law. Go on, he urged, his voice raspy. Johnson paused for a moment before proceeding. Mr. Reeves, we have come across documentation regarding a specific family. The Thompsons. Sarah Thompson. A mother raising her child alone. 4 young ones. 2 sisters. 5 years old. Anne. Newborn twin boys, Michael concluded, sensing an overwhelming stillness enveloping the space. The investigator acknowledged with a solemn nod. Precisely. Sarah emerged as a prominent figure within the resistance movement. She vanished the night the demolitions commenced. Michael rose suddenly, striding over to the window. The day outside was radiant and unclouded. A harsh juxtaposition to the tempest brewing within him. The children, he murmured at last, his voice scarcely rising above a whisper. Emma, Olivia, Ethan, and Noah. It's them, right? Indeed, sir, Johnson has confirmed. Absolutely certain. And there's more. Michael pivoted, meeting the detective's gaze. Additional. Johnson extracted a final document from the folder. It was an image captured in time. A youthful, attractive woman beamed at the camera. 2 identical girls cradled in her embrace. This is Sarah Thompson, good sir. Captured a few months prior to the commencement of the Riverside project. Michael grasped the picture with quivering hands. The woman's face stirred a deep sense of recognition that tightened his heart. He had encountered her previously, passionately voicing her concerns at one of the protests, her words swallowed by the thunderous clamor of the demolition machines. In that moment, he had brushed her off as merely another bothersome activist. Oh my, he whispered, collapsing wearily into his seat. What have I created? A profound stillness ensued, thick with the burden of discovery. Michael experienced a profound shift, as if every choice he had made was now illuminated in a fresh perspective. Every structure he had constructed, every agreement he had finalized, now seemed marred by the lingering darkness of the events in Mill Creek. Mr. For Reeves, Johnson finally stated, maintaining a tone of deliberate neutrality. What would you like me to focus on next? Michael gazed at the photograph of Sarah, taking in the joyful expressions of Emma and Olivia, a stark contrast to the serious, wary children now resting in his home. After a lengthy silence, he finally spoke, nothing. Your work is complete, Johnson. At this moment, the responsibility falls on my shoulders. Once the detective departed, Michael lingered in his office for an extended period, the evidence laid out before him resembling a grim puzzle waiting to be solved. Every document, every photo, narrated a tale of disrupted lives, of uprooted families, all under the guise of advancement and gain. Guilt engulfed him, poised to take control. How could he meet those children's gaze now, fully aware of what he understood? How could he keep up the facade of being merely a kind benefactor, when in truth he was the mastermind behind their misfortune. Michael paced restlessly in his office, his thoughts and emotions swirling chaotically within him. A part of him yearned to dash into the living room, lay bare his secrets to the twins, and plead for their forgiveness. Yet, another facet, the one that had endured and flourished in the unforgiving realm of commerce, cautioned him against such an impulsive decision. He paused at the window, his eyes wandering over the meticulously kept grounds of his estate. Outdoors, the scene appeared utterly serene, so typical. Yet within these confines, a quiet narrative was taking shape, where he played the roles of both hero and villain. With a deep breath, Michael resolved that it was time to visit the children. Not to reveal, not just yet, but to, watch them, attempt to gain a deeper insight into the effects of his choices. Unsure of himself, he exited his office and made his way silently to the living room. The twins were present, engaged in a serene play with the toys he had purchased for them. The infants rested serenely in their improvised cradles. For a brief instant, Michael lingered in the doorway, simply observing. Emma and Olivia appeared so pure, so oblivious to the turmoil brewing within him. How could he bear the weight of such immense suffering? Mr. Michael. Emma's voice pierced the silence of his musings. Are you feeling all right? Michael managed a smile, wishing it appeared more genuine than it truly was. Indeed, Emma, I simply stopped by to check in on how everything is going for you all. Olivia gazed at him with those intense eyes that appeared to perceive more than what a 5-year-old typically would. She observed, you seem to be feeling down. I've been contemplating some challenging matters, Michael responded, being cautious not to disclose too much. There's no cause for concern, the twins shared a look, a wordless understanding flowing between them. In that glance, Michael felt a stirring curiosity about the depths of their understanding, the extent of their suspicions. Mr. Michael, Emma started with a touch of uncertainty, have you discovered anything regarding our mother? The question struck Michael with the force of a gut punch. What could he possibly say in response to that? How could he gaze into the hopeful child's eyes and affirm that he had discovered something, yet reveal that the reality was far more dreadful than she could ever conceive? I'm still searching, Emma, he replied, loathing himself for yet another untruth. Rest assured, I will persist in my search until I locate her. Olivia inched nearer, her eyes fixed intently on Michael. You're not telling the truth, she stated plainly. Michael experienced a sudden flutter in his chest. Excuse me? Olivia shared that Mommy always said we could see the truth in people's eyes, and yours, well, yours have a different look. Michael gulped, sensing a rawness and fragility within him that he had never experienced until now. The children, innocent victims of his avarice, appeared to penetrate the barriers he had meticulously built around himself. I'm not lying, Olivia, he insisted, fully aware that every syllable pulled him further into the abyss of falsehood he had constructed. I am genuinely searching for your mother. Sometimes, the complexities of adulthood can be quite overwhelming. Emma stood alongside her sister, both of them resolute as they faced him together. Why do they have to be so complicated, she inquired. It's either mother or not. Why won't you just share it with us? Michael sensed droplets of sweat forming on his forehead. How had he arrived at this juncture? How had he, a man accustomed to navigating billion-dollar deals with ease, found himself outmaneuvered by 2 5-year-olds? Ladies, he started, striving to maintain a calm tone. I assure you that I am putting forth every effort to locate your mother. Yet, certain matters require patience. At times, we may find ourselves without all the answers immediately. The twins observed him intently, their matching gazes appearing to delve deep into his very essence. At last, Emma found her voice. Understood, Mr. Michael. Yet, the inflection in her voice revealed their lack of comprehension. Not quite. And even more troubling, that they had no faith in him. Michael was overwhelmed by a surge of queasiness. He had to escape that place, craving the fresh breath of freedom. I have some calls to make, he murmured, already turning toward the door. Everything will be just fine here. The girls exchanged silent glances, their eyes tracking him as he hurriedly exited the room. Once inside his office, Michael shut the door behind him and leaned against it, taking deep breaths. What was he up to? How could he maintain this facade? His eyes lingered on the photograph of Sarah Thompson resting on his desk. Her smile, which had once radiated warmth and affection, now appeared to taunt him. Here stood a woman who had battled fiercely to safeguard her family and her community. In his hubris and insatiable desire, he had brought about its ruin. Michael moved toward the desk, his hands shaking as he lifted the photo. He gently traced Sarah's face with a finger, as though he could bridge the gap of time and space to connect with her. Apologies escaped his lips as he spoke softly to the image before him. I truly am. Yet he understood that mere apologies would not suffice. The damage he had inflicted was beyond the reach of mere words. Steps had to be taken. But what steps? How could he possibly start to mend something so vast? Michael settled into his chair, his thoughts swirling with a myriad of possibilities and their potential outcomes. He certainly had the option to utilize his wealth. He had the potential to establish relief funds for families forced from their homes, reconstruct dwellings, and provide employment opportunities. Yet, could that truly suffice? Could it wipe away the scars, the grief, the hurt he had caused? Next came the matter of Sarah. Where could she be? What transpired for her on that fateful night? Did she still breathe? And if she was, what could possibly be the reason for her not coming back for her daughters? Michael raised his phone, his fingers poised above the keypad, ready to create something new. He had the ability to gather resources, recruit top-notch investigators, and leverage his influence to locate her. But what if the reality was more harrowing than he ever envisioned? What if Sarah were? He found himself unable to complete the thought. The thought was excruciating, the consequences too catastrophic. A gentle rap on the door interrupted his somber thoughts. Come in, he called, hastily tucking away Sarah's photo as the door swung open to reveal Emma. She appeared delicate and exposed in that moment, her large eyes brimming with a blend of anticipation and trepidation. Mr. Michael, she murmured gently. I wish to express my apologies. Michael's eyes widened in astonishment. Excuse me? For what purpose, Emma? The young girl stepped into the office, her fingers anxiously fidgeting with the edge of her shirt. For claiming you were not truthful. It lacked courtesy. Michael sensed a tightness in his chest. There stood a child, burdened by profound loss, offering an apology to the man who, unbeknownst to her, played a pivotal role in her sorrow. Oh, Emma, he said, his voice heavy with feeling. No need for an apology. I can see why you and Olivia feel frustrated. It is entirely within your rights to seek clarification and pursue understanding. Emma walked up to the desk, her gaze wandering inquisitively across the scattered papers and photographs. Michael swiftly concealed the more damning documents, wishing she hadn't noticed anything revealing. Are you truly searching for our mother? She inquired, her tone delicate and filled with anticipation. Michael gulped, the burden of his deceit looming over him like an impending storm. Indeed, Emma, I am. The girl nodded deliberately, as though she were carefully digesting the information. To Michael's astonishment, she extended her hand and grabbed one of the papers he had failed to conceal in time. A map of the Mill Creek neighborhood lay before me, its surface adorned with red X's that marked the locations of houses that had been demolished. Hey, Emma exclaimed, her eyes growing wide. This appeared to be. Michael swiftly snatched the map away, his heart racing. It's just a small matter, Emma. Just a few documents for work. However, the moment had passed. In her eyes, he could perceive a shift that spoke volumes. A whisper of doubt had taken root. Mr. Michael, Emma spoke with a measured tone. What's the reason behind having a map of our neighborhood? Michael sensed the panic creeping in, yet his extensive experience in challenging negotiations allowed him to keep his cool. He managed a steady smile, wishing Emma wouldn't see the quiver in his hands. "It's merely a component of the inquiry, Emma," he remarked, attempting to maintain a nonchalant demeanor. "In order to locate your mother, we must first grasp her last known whereabouts." Emma's brow furrowed, her gaze wandering to the map now obscured beneath a pile of papers. Yet those crimson stains appeared to be precisely where our home once stood. Michael sensed a drop of perspiration glide down his spine. How can a child of 5 possess such keen insight? He had to shift the conversation, and quickly. "Emma," he murmured, inclining his body closer. "What do you think about checking in on Olivia and the little ones? Perhaps we could indulge in some ice cream following our lunch." The mention of ice cream briefly captured Emma's attention, her eyes sparkling with delight. "Is that so? Is that possible?" "Of course," Michael responded, feeling a sense of relief for having sidestepped calamity at this moment. "Let us proceed." As he guided Emma out of the office, Michael felt an unsettling tension, as if he were balancing precariously on a thin line. How much longer could he maintain this secret? What would unfold when the truth eventually emerged? In the living room once more, Olivia regarded them with a hint of curiosity. "Is everything all right?" she inquired, her gaze shifting from Emma to Michael. "Everything's fine," Michael replied, maybe a bit too hastily. "I was considering that we might all enjoy some ice cream together later. What are your thoughts?" The twins shared eager glances, yet Michael caught a flicker of uncertainty in Olivia's gaze. She clearly exhibited a greater sense of caution than he did, and he understood that he needed to tread lightly in her presence. As the girls animatedly discussed their favorite ice cream flavors, Michael's attention drifted to the babies, Ethan and Noah, tiny and pure, blissfully oblivious to the unfolding drama surrounding them. What consequences would they face if the truth were revealed? The mere idea of the authorities discovering the truth sent a wave of dread through him. The possibility of losing the children, of watching them being taken into foster care, twisted his insides with anxiety. When did that occur? When did he begin to care so deeply for these 4 small lives? The remainder of the day slipped away in a haze of contrived normalcy. A delightful excursion for ice cream. An intimate evening meal. Evening rituals. Michael found himself observing the twins with keen attention, searching for any hints that they might be onto something more. At last, with the little ones tucked in for the night, Michael made his way to his office. He was acutely aware that sleep would elude him, the burden of this secret heavy upon his chest. Seated in his chair, he grasped the photograph of Sarah Thompson once more. Her smile, once vibrant and alive, now carried an air of accusation. "What should I do?" he murmured softly to the image. "What steps can I take to resolve this issue?" Yet the photograph held its silence, with Sarah's gaze locked on a distant horizon, as though she glimpsed a future that eluded his imagination. With a deep breath, Michael reached for his phone. He faced a call that demanded his attention, a choice he could no longer postpone. "Johnson, it's me speaking. I'm counting on you to gather the most exceptional search team available, regardless of the expense. We are on a mission to locate Sarah Thompson." As he provided the detective with guidance, Michael was acutely aware that he was venturing into unknown realms. He was putting it all on the line, his reputation, his wealth, perhaps even his liberty, all in the pursuit of redemption. Yet, gazing at the image of Sarah, at the beaming expressions of Emma and Olivia, he realized he was left with no alternative. For the first time in his life, Michael Reeves was engaging in an endeavor not driven by profit or ambition, but simply because it was the right choice to make. As he finally ended the call, the sun began its ascent, casting the sky in hues of pink and gold. A fresh dawn was unfolding, carrying with it the potential for transformation and maybe even salvation. Michael rose from his seat and made his way to the window. Beyond these walls, life continued its relentless pace, unaware of the turmoil brewing inside. Yet for him, and for the 4 little souls dwelling beneath his roof, everything would change forever. With a final look at Sarah's photo, Michael silently pledged himself. He would uncover the truths. He would mend what he had shattered. In some way, he would discover a path to reconcile with his history. The journey that lies before us promises to be arduous and challenging, laden with hurdles and unsettling truths. For the first time in what felt like ages, Michael Reeves experienced an emotion he believed had vanished from his life. Anticipation. The sun had just begun to rise when Michael Reeves entered his boardroom, resolve clear in his expression. Gathered around the expansive mahogany table, his partners and lawyers sat in anticipation, their faces reflecting a mix of intrigue and unease. "Gentlemen," Michael commenced, his tone resolute. "I appreciate your presence at this early hour. There is much to delve into." He took a moment, allowing his eyes to scan the well-known faces around him. These were individuals with whom he had forged an empire, individuals who relied on him to make choices that would enhance their gains. What he was about to suggest contradicted all their previous efforts. "As you know," he went on, "I've been navigating a personal matter these last few days. This circumstance has prompted me to reconsider various aspects, particularly the way we manage our operations." A soft whisper swept across the room. Michael noticed the growing confusion and concern reflected in the eyes of his colleagues. Michael cut in, interrupting James Harrington, his longest-standing partner. "What are we discussing here, precisely?" Michael inhaled deeply. The moment had arrived, it was time to act. "I'm discussing the allocation of our resources, a considerable amount, to rectify some of the injustices of the past. I am looking to start an extensive search for a woman named Sarah Thompson." The ensuing silence was overwhelming. In an instant, the room erupted with a cacophony of voices. "Who on earth is Sarah Thompson? Michael, have you completely lost your senses? Is this regarding those children you welcomed into your home?" Michael lifted his hands to signal for silence. "This may seem outlandish, but please listen to my perspective." For the next half hour, Michael detailed the situation, leaving out some of the more damning specifics, yet emphasizing the urgency of locating Sarah. He discussed the importance of corporate responsibility, emphasizing the necessity of ethical actions and reflecting on the human impact of their previous developments. As he concluded, an air of stillness enveloped the room once more. Yet again, the quiet was thick with unease and incredulity. It was Gerald Matthews, the chief lawyer of the company, who ultimately shattered the stillness. "Michael, I see that you're facing a challenge, but the suggestion you're making raises significant legal concerns. We are discussing the implications of acknowledging culpability in a situation that may result in financial losses amounting to millions, potentially even billions." Michael nodded, fully expecting this response. "I appreciate your concerns, Gerald. However, I'm not seeking approval. I am notifying you of a choice I have already reached." A fresh tide of whispers cascaded through the space. James Harrington rose to his feet, his face flushed with fury. "This isn't something you can pursue, Michael. Never solitary. Are you aware that we have shareholders? We have responsibilities." "Precisely," Michael responded with a serene demeanor. "We have responsibilities. Now is the moment for us to own up to our actions in Mill Creek." The reference to Mill Creek stirred up further unrest. All present were aware of the controversy surrounding the Riverside project, yet only a handful were privy to the grim specifics. "If we proceed with this," Gerald cautioned, "we're inviting a wave of lawsuits. Every family forced from their homes, every shuttered storefront, they will all seek retribution." Michael gave another nod. "I understand, and I'm ready for it. I am eager to initiate the establishment of a compensation fund for all families impacted by our projects over the past 5 years." The room burst into a chorus of dissent. Michael allowed it to linger for a few moments before elevating his tone. "That's sufficient. I understand this may not be the news you anticipated receiving today. I understand it contradicts all that we've established. However, circumstances have shifted. I have changed." He paused, allowing his eyes to wander around the room once more. "I empathize with those of you seeking an exit, those who find this new direction unpalatable. I'm prepared to purchase your shares at the current market value, with an additional 20% premium included. For those who remain, I assure you we will discover a path to conduct business that is both rewarding and principled. The ensuing silence was palpable. Michael observed the intricate workings of his partner's thoughts, weighing losses against gains, assessing risks alongside opportunities. To everyone's astonishment, it was the usually reserved Frank Donovan who finally broke his silence in the meeting. "You know, Michael," he said, his voice heavy with the weight of years. "When I embarked on this journey many years ago, this was the way we approached our work. Our focus was on individuals, rather than merely financial gain. Perhaps it's time we revisit our origins." A soft chorus of assent rippled through the gathering. Not from all, certainly, but from a few. It marked the beginning. Michael experienced a sense of relief wash over him. "Thanks, Frank. Is there anyone else?" In the ensuing hours, schemes were devised and tactics meticulously detailed. Several partners departed, pledging to never engage with Michael again. Some remained, captivated by the prospect of an innovative approach to commerce. As the meeting drew to a close, the clock had already ticked past noon. Michael sat in the room, feeling a mix of fatigue and an unexpected surge of vitality. His phone buzzed softly. A message had arrived from Johnson. "A lead has emerged regarding Sarah Thompson at St. Mary's Hospital. Come at once." Michael's heart pounded. After days of relentless searching, a glimmer of hope finally appeared on the horizon. He hurried to his car, directing his driver to make their way to the hospital with utmost urgency. As he traveled, a whirlwind of ideas danced through his thoughts. In what state might Sarah find herself? How would he convey all of this to the children? St. Mary's Hospital stood as a relic of the past, its weary structure reflecting years of neglect and strain from overwhelming demands. Michael experienced a sharp twinge of remorse, reflecting on how many healthcare facilities like this one might have been enhanced with the funds he had squandered on superfluous indulgences. Johnson stood at the entrance, anticipation hanging in the air. "This direction, Mr. Reeves. However, I must caution you, the circumstances are quite sensitive." They navigated bustling hallways, moving past patients on stretchers and fatigued nurses. At last, they arrived at a treatment ward. "She has remained here since the evening of the demolition," Johnson articulated softly. "Arrived as a casualty from a construction mishap. She has endured significant injuries, yet is gradually on the mend." Michael experienced a blend of relief and unease. "Is she awake? Is she aware of her identity?" Johnson nodded with a somber expression. "Indeed, her words have been few. Medical professionals believe it could stem from both emotional distress and physical issues." They paused before a shut door. Michael paused, his fingers resting on the doorknob. Beyond this door lay the mother of the girls he had welcomed into his life. The woman whose existence he'd unknowingly shattered. Drawing in a hesitant breath, he grasped the handle. Sarah Thompson sat upright in bed, gazing out the window. She appeared delicate and wan, yet as she faced Michael, her gaze was sharp and vibrant. "May I ask who you are?" she inquired, her voice gravelly from lack of use. Michael experienced a sudden flutter in his chest. Michael Reeves introduced himself, taking careful steps forward. I arrived to offer my assistance." Sarah observed him intently for a prolonged moment. "You're the one who shattered my world," she finally declared. Not intended as an accusation, but rather as a straightforward observation. Michael was burdened by an overwhelming sense of guilt. Indeed, he acknowledged it. "I'm here to make it right." He swiftly detailed the arrival of the children at his doorstep and how he had tended to their needs. As he spoke, he observed a spectrum of feelings flicker across Sarah's expression. Comfort, anxiety, optimism. "What are they up to these days?" Sarah inquired, her voice quivering just a bit. "They are secure," Michael reassured her. "In my residence. Yet, they feel your absence deeply." Sarah, I wish to assist in bringing your family back together. I would like to arrange for your transfer to a more suitable medical facility. Ensure you receive the highest quality of care available. Sarah regarded him with suspicion. What is the reason behind this? What makes it matter to you? Michael inhaled deeply. The moment had arrived for the harsh reality to be faced. It was me who brought this upon us, he murmured, his voice barely audible. The Riverside Initiative and the Mill Creek teardown. The choice was mine. And now, I am working to amend my past mistakes. The ensuing silence was overwhelming. Michael could perceive a tempest of feelings swirling in Sarah's gaze. Surprise, frustration, hurt, uncertainty. She finally said, her voice quivering with emotion. Your actions have devastated our existence. Our sanctuary, our collective. Michael bowed his head, unable to confront the accusation reflected in her gaze. He spoke gently, I know. There simply aren't enough words of remorse to express the weight of my actions. Yet, I stand before you now, Sarah. I am committed to taking every necessary step to ensure everything is as it should be. Sarah gazed at him intently, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. In what way? At last, she inquired. What steps can be taken to resolve an issue like this? Michael raised his eyes, locking them with hers. Effective immediately, he announced, I am arranging your transfer to the finest hospital in the city. I will ensure you receive the finest care available. I will bring your children to visit you. Emma, Olivia, Ethan, and Noah are eagerly anticipating your arrival. Upon hearing her children's names, a fracture occurred within Sarah. At last, the tears she had been suppressing started to stream down her cheeks. My little ones, she wept. I believed I would never encounter them again. Michael inched forward, cautiously extending a tissue towards her. They are all fine, Sarah. They are truly remarkable. And they always held on to the hope of discovering you. Sarah grasped the tissue, gently blotting her tears away. As she gazed at Michael once more, a fresh resolve sparkled in her eyes. I wish to see them, she expressed. At that moment, Michael gave a nod of agreement. I will deliver them right away. However, let's prioritize organizing your transfer. In the ensuing hours, Michael leveraged every ounce of his influence and resources to facilitate Sarah's transfer to Langone Medical Center, renowned as one of the premier hospitals in the city. He meticulously managed every aspect, ensuring she received the most luxurious accommodations, the finest medical care, and everything of the highest quality. In the meantime, he summoned his housekeeper, requesting her to prepare the children for a trip to the hospital. He understood the importance of getting Emma and Olivia ready for what lay ahead. But how can one articulate without disclosing the entire reality? At last, with Sarah comfortably nestled in her new room, Michael set out to collect the children. The journey in the car unfolded in silence, the twins observing him with a blend of intrigue and unease. Where are we headed, Mr. Michael? At long last, Emma posed the question. Michael inhaled deeply. Hey ladies, do you recall when I mentioned I was searching for your mother? Both of them nodded, their eyes widening with eager anticipation. Well, Michael continued with great care, we found her. She's currently in the hospital, on the mend after an accident, and we're heading to visit her now. The vehicle resonated with bursts of delight and a flurry of eager inquiries. Michael endeavored to respond, meticulously ensuring that he did not disclose his involvement in the circumstances that had fractured their family. Upon arriving at the hospital, Michael found himself needing to hold back the twins from dashing down the corridors. He gently reminded us that our mom is still on the mend, and we must approach this with calmness and care. Finally, they arrived at Sarah's room. Michael crouched to meet the twins' gaze. Are you prepared? He inquired gently. Emma and Olivia nodded, their tiny hands gripping his. Michael swung the door open. The instant Sarah laid eyes on her daughters was a memory etched in Michael's mind forever. Her face radiated a love so genuine, so profound, that he sensed a tightening in his chest. The girls paused momentarily, disbelief etched on their faces as they took in the scene before them. Then, with cries of, "Mommy!" they hurried to her bedside. Michael observed from a distance as the family came together, enveloped in a whirlwind of tears, laughter, and warm embraces. He experienced a duality, feeling both integrated into the situation and entirely detached, an unintentional creator of this gathering, yet simultaneously the cause of their initial separation. As the first surge of feelings faded, Sarah lifted her gaze above her daughters, locking eyes with Michael. A quiet inquiry lingered in the air, one he understood he would need to address before long. In the subsequent days, Michael split his hours between the hospital and his business. In the hospital, he observed Sarah's gradual recovery, filled with admiration for her strength and resilience. The kids cherished every second with their mom, transforming the space into a haven of joy and tales. In the workplace, Michael spearheaded a subtle transformation. A compensation fund was being set up, plans for new affordable housing projects were underway, and a new code of ethics was put into action. While not all embraced the changes, Michael remained resolute in his fresh perspective. On a serene afternoon at the hospital, as the children drifted into slumber following an energetic playtime, Sarah finally addressed the unspoken issue that lingered in the air. "Michael," she whispered gently. "I believe it's time for a conversation," Michael acknowledged, a tightness settling in his stomach. He understood that this moment was inevitable, yet it offered no solace. "The children shared with me the story of how you discovered them and the way you looked after them," Sarah began. "However, there seems to be a discrepancy. What could possibly motivate you, a billionaire, to be so concerned about 4 homeless kids?" Michael inhaled deeply, summoning the bravery needed for the revelation he was on the verge of sharing. "Sarah, I must admit that I bear the weight of responsibility for what transpired with you and your family. The Riverside Project, the demolition of Mill Creek, every bit of it was orchestrated by me." He noticed the shock and pain flicker across Sarah's face, yet he pressed forward before he could second-guess himself. "I was oblivious, indifferent to the true ramifications of what I did. However, when your daughters arrived at my doorstep on that snowy evening, everything shifted. For the first time, I witnessed the true human toll of my selfishness." Sarah studied him closely, her face a canvas of mixed feelings. "You ruined everything for us," she said, her voice quivering. "Our sanctuary, our collective." "I understand," Michael responded, his voice thick with remorse. "There are no justifications in existence for my actions. However, I am present now, striving to rectify the situation, not solely for you and your children, but for every family impacted by my projects." He elaborated on the compensation fund, the upcoming housing projects, and the transformations occurring at his company. Sarah remained quiet, her feelings concealed beneath a calm exterior. Upon his completion, a weighty silence ensued. At last, Sarah found her voice. "My desire is to loathe you, Michael. A part of me truly feels that way, yet I can't ignore the way my children gaze at you. I listen to the tales they share. After absorbing all this information, I'm left in a state of uncertainty." Michael acknowledged her confusion with a knowing nod. "I don't anticipate your forgiveness, Sarah. I am not worthy of it. I assure you that I will do everything within my power to ensure a secure and stable future for you and your children." Sarah observed him intently for a prolonged moment before responding. "Forgiveness unfolds over time, Michael. I can't simply give it away. However, I am open to giving it a shot. For my children, for our community, and perhaps, just perhaps, for you as well." Though Sarah's words did not constitute a full pardon, they nonetheless enveloped Michael in a wave of relief. It exceeded his expectations, surpassing what he believed he was worthy of. "Thank you, Sarah," he murmured gently. "I assure you, I will not disappoint you." In the days that ensued, a fresh dynamic started to take shape. Michael maintained his routine visits, bringing the children to see Sarah and aiding in her recovery. The twins, observing the change in the dynamics between the adults, began to inquire. One day, Emma, always the more perceptive of the two, approached Michael. "Mr. Michael," she started with a hint of hesitation. "Why does Mom occasionally gaze at you in an unusual manner?" In a moment that captured a blend of emotions, Michael shared a glance with Sarah, who offered a subtle nod. The moment for revelation had arrived. "Emma, Olivia," he said, pulling the girls in closer. "I have something important to share with you. There's a story to tell, a tale of what transpired within your dwelling." In the moments that followed, Michael shared, with utmost clarity and compassion, his part in the events that had transformed their lives. He observed a blend of confusion, sadness, and even anger dance across the girls' faces. "So, it was your fault?" Olivia asked, tears welling in her eyes. Michael nodded with a heavy heart. "Indeed, Olivia. I take full responsibility, and I sincerely apologize. Beyond what words can express." A heavy stillness ensued. To the astonishment of all, it was Emma who broke the silence. "So, you're working on resolving it, correct? That's the reason you're assisting us." Michael's heart tightened at the girl's keen insight. "Indeed, Emma, that's the reason. I understand that I can't change the past, but I'm committed to doing all I can to improve the situation." The twins shared a silent glance, a wordless conversation flowing between them. At last, Emma faced him. "We aren't fond of your actions," she stated earnestly, "but we appreciate you now, and you're assisting Mommy. It seems we might be able to extend some forgiveness your way." "Indeed, Liv," Olivia responded with a measured nod. "Indeed, but you must vow to never inflict such pain on anyone again." Michael sensed the sting of tears welling up in his eyes. With a grave expression, he vowed, never again. With a gentle touch, Sarah, who had been observing in silence, reached out and grasped Michael's hand. "United," she murmured gently, "we will take the appropriate course of action." In that instant, gazing at Sarah and the children, Michael experienced a sensation he hadn't felt in ages. Anticipation. The journey before him remained arduous and lengthy, yet for the first time, he found himself accompanied. He was presented with an opportunity for redemption, a moment to genuinely impact the lives of others. He was resolute in his commitment to seize that opportunity. The dawn broke, bathing the city in a warm, golden light as Michael Reeves stepped into his office. The atmosphere, previously stark and uninviting, now revealed delicate hints of transformation. Images of Emma, Olivia, Ethan, and Noah rested on his desk. A perpetual reminder of the reasons behind his transformation. With a resolute breath, Michael switched on his computer and accessed the document he had been diligently crafting for the past few weeks. The heading at the top stated New Beginnings Foundation Official Proposal. As he revisited the document, Michael pondered the path that had led him to this moment. Not long ago, his primary focus was solely on boosting his company's profits, regardless of the impact on people. Now, he was on the verge of establishing a foundation aimed at assisting those he once viewed as mere hurdles in his journey to achievement. A gentle rap on the door broke the silence of his contemplation. "Mr. Reeves?" Jennifer, his assistant, reached out. "Sarah Thompson has arrived to meet with you." Michael experienced a whirlwind of conflicting feelings at the sound of Sarah's name. Thankfulness, remorse, a feeling of duty. "Thanks, Jennifer. Kindly have her come in." Sarah stepped in, infusing the space with a vibrant energy that Michael found elusive and hard to articulate. She appeared more robust, more vibrant than she had been after her time in the hospital. Her eyes, previously brimming with skepticism when they met Michael's gaze, now revealed a blend of caution and something deeper. Perhaps a sense of respect. "Good morning, Michael," Sarah said, taking a seat in the chair across from his desk. "The children extend their warm wishes. Emma and Olivia were adamant that I pass this along to you." She presented him with a vibrant drawing featuring 5 stick figures, unmistakably depicting Michael, Sarah, and their 3 children, all holding hands beneath a cheerful sun. Michael grasped the drawing, a tightness forming in his throat. "Thank you," he succeeded. "How are they adjusting to the new house?" Sarah's expression brightened. "They absolutely adore it, Michael. Particularly the backyard. Yesterday, we dedicated the whole afternoon to nurturing a small garden into existence. The twins are certain they'll cultivate the largest pumpkins in existence," and Michael grinned at the thought of it all. The residence he had provided for the Thompson family was humble in comparison to his grand estate, yet he ensured it was equipped with all the essentials for Sarah and the children, featuring a generous yard for the kids to play and flourish. Michael expressed his pleasure upon hearing it. "What about you, Sarah? How do you feel today?" Sarah took a moment, reflecting on his inquiry. Improving with each passing day, she finally remarked. "I'm nearly at full strength again. Emotionally, I find myself in the midst of processing everything. Having a secure home and witnessing the joy of the children truly makes a significant difference." Michael acknowledged with a nod, grasping the situation. A stillness enveloped them for a brief moment, heavy with unsaid thoughts and intricate feelings. At last, Michael took a moment to clear his throat. "Sarah, I brought you here today because I value your perspective on a matter." He pivoted his computer monitor in her direction, revealing the document for the New Beginnings Foundation. Sarah leaned in, her gaze sweeping over the words. As she perused the pages, her eyebrows arched in astonishment. "Michael, this is remarkable. A comprehensive organization dedicated to assisting families who have been uprooted." Michael gave a slight nod. "This is just the start. I aspire to leverage the resources of Reeves Enterprises to create a meaningful impact in the lives of individuals. Not only construct homes, but also restore whole neighborhoods." Sarah continued to immerse herself in the text, pausing now and then to pose inquiries or propose revisions. Her viewpoint, shaped by the profound experience of losing everything, was truly priceless. Michael discovered he was jotting down notes with a whirlwind intensity. "Everything appears impressive in theory," Sarah finally remarked, reclining in her chair. "But Michael, do you truly grasp the needs of these families? It's more than merely offering shelter. It revolves around rekindling a spirit of togetherness, of connection." Michael paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. "To be honest, I don't completely grasp it. I truly require your assistance, Sarah. Both you and the child can reveal to me the true essence of what is important." Sarah observed him intently, weighing the authenticity of his words. Finally, she gave a nod. "Okay, let's get started. However, there is one stipulation." "What is that?" Michael inquired, filled with anticipation. "You must join us on this journey. Beyond mere meetings or charitable gatherings. I invite you to experience firsthand the reality of life for these families. To truly grasp the significance of your choices, both those made and those yet to come." Michael experienced a blend of unease and resolve. The thought of confronting the complete repercussions of his previous choices was overwhelming. Yet he understood it was essential. "Absolutely," he stated with conviction. "When shall we begin?" Sarah beamed. A sincere smile that fell short of illuminating her eyes. "What do you think about this very moment? I have a location in mind that I would love to share with you." Hours later, Michael discovered himself in a neighborhood that felt strangely unfamiliar. Decaying homes flanked the tight alleyways. Numerous are evidently forsaken. Kids frolicked in improvised play areas crafted from discarded tires and wooden boards. The atmosphere was thick with an almost tangible weight of hopelessness. "This," Sarah said softly, "is what remains of Oakwood. A pioneering neighborhood that your company transformed." Michael experienced a knot in his stomach. He had a faint recollection of Oakwood. One of his initial endeavors. The project that initially established his reputation as a successful developer. In that moment, he reveled in the gains, oblivious to the toll it took on others. "Oh my," he whispered. observing a whole family cram into a weathered, dilapidated trailer. I was completely unaware. Sarah observed him intently. It's simple to remain unaware when the repercussions of your choices don't confront you, Michael. However, these individuals, they confront those consequences daily. As they walked through the neighborhood, Sarah pointed out places and people telling their stories. Old Mr. Johnson, who lost the family-run hardware store that had been in operation for 3 generations. Young Maria had to leave school to take care of her younger siblings after the family lost their home. Every narrative pierced Michael's heart like a dagger. He had devoted years to persuading himself that advancement warranted any expense. In that moment, as he gazed upon the faces and listened to the narratives of those who had borne the burden, a profound sense of shame washed over him, igniting an intense yearning to rectify the wrongs. "Sarah," he finally said, his voice heavy with feeling, "I wish to offer my assistance. It's more than just financial gains or acquiring new properties. I aim to reconstruct everything here. The community, the enterprises, the optimism. What steps should we take to achieve that?" Sarah cast her gaze upon him. A glimmer of astonishment danced in her gaze. For a fleeting instant, Michael perceived in her not merely the mother of Emma, Olivia, Ethan, and Noah, but the community leader she had once been before his choices compelled her to struggle solely for her existence. She started off at a measured pace. Initially, it is essential to pay attention to the voices of the community. Truly pay attention. Discover their requirements. Their aspirations for what lies ahead. We cannot simply enforce our perspective on how things ought to unfold. Michael nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. We might organize community gatherings. Not solely for Oakwood, but for every community impacted by our previous endeavors. Additionally, Sarah mentioned for upcoming endeavors. To truly make a difference, we must fundamentally reassess our approach to urban development. In the ensuing months, Michael immersed himself completely in this fresh endeavor. The New Beginnings Foundation was officially launched amidst considerable media attention, yet the true efforts unfolded away from the limelight. Under Sarah's guidance and alongside the children, Michael dedicated endless hours exploring neighborhoods such as Oakwood. He absorbed tales, wiped away sorrow, and slowly started to grasp the significance of his previous choices. Emma and Olivia, with their youthful charm and distinctive viewpoint, frequently offered unexpected revelations. Emma proposed the creation of reading clubs in every neighborhood after observing the significant number of children who had limited access to books. Olivia, on the other hand, proposed the idea of community gardens, reminiscing about the charming little garden they once tended in Mill Creek. With the Foundation's projects taking form, Michael started to completely transform Reeves Enterprises' strategy for urban development. Ensuring access to affordable housing emerged as a key focus, alongside the commitment to safeguarding local businesses and community spaces. One day, as she examined the plans for Oakwood's revitalization, Sarah made a remark that altered the course of everything. "You know, Michael," she said, gesturing towards the design. "This all appears impressive in theory, but have you inquired about what individuals truly desire in a residence?" Michael blinked, momentarily taken aback. Indeed, we possess insights from market research, along with demographic data." Sarah gently shook her head, a warm smile gracing her lips. "While data holds significance, it fails to capture the entire narrative. Join me on this journey. I have something to share with you." She guided him to a quaint park nestled in the remnants of old Oakwood. A cluster of children frolicked, their joyous laughter resonating through the warm afternoon air. "Do you see that tree over there?" Sarah gestured towards a venerable oak tree. That was the spot where all the kids from the neighborhood would come together after school. "What about that bench?" "That's the spot where the seniors gathered to engage in chess matches on weekends." These are the elements that transform a house into a true home, Michael. More than mere walls and a roof, it's about the memories and the bonds we create. Michael gazed at the scene, perceiving it in a fresh light. He spoke slowly, as if piecing together his thoughts. "I believe I understand," he said. "We're not merely constructing buildings, we're crafting a sanctuary." Sarah beamed, a true smile illuminating her features. "Precisely. That's precisely why we must pay attention to others. Truly pay attention." From that day forward, the planning process at Reeves Enterprises underwent a significant transformation. Michael established a series of community forums, providing a platform for future residents to express their needs and aspirations. Emma and Olivia, embracing their positions as junior consultants, frequently engaged, contributing innovative ideas and viewpoints. A particularly poignant moment arose when Olivia casually shared her longing for the quaint community garden they once had in Mill Creek. "Mommy often brought us to that place to plant tomatoes," her youthful voice tinged with a hint of nostalgia. This straightforward insight inspired the establishment of community gardens in every new development by Reeves Enterprises. They not only supplied fresh produce for the residents but also transformed into vibrant gathering spots, enhancing the connections within the community. With each passing month, Michael's change became more and more apparent. The individual who previously regarded others as nothing more than numbers on a spreadsheet now dedicated countless hours to engaging with prospective residents, listening to their narratives and concerns. Sarah, in her new role as a consultant to the foundation, truly flourished. Her unique journey and dedication to her community established her as a formidable and esteemed voice. Michael frequently marveled at her strength and determination, feeling fortunate to have her by his side in this endeavor, even though their connection stayed firmly within the bounds of professionalism. At long last, after countless hours of dedication, the momentous occasion had come, the grand opening of the new Oakwood. The neighborhood embodied a striking example of contemporary, eco-friendly community life, where budget-friendly residences seamlessly blended with lush green spaces, playgrounds, and shared areas for all to enjoy. The ancient oak tree, which Sarah had highlighted many months ago, stood as the centerpiece of the new Central Park. Michael found himself at the podium once more, yet this occasion was filled with an unmistakable sense of joy and festivity. "A year ago," he began, "we made a commitment not merely to restore houses, but to restore homes, not just to erect structures, but to rejuvenate a community. Today, I'm delighted to announce that we have honored that commitment." Cheers filled the air, with numerous faces glistening with emotion. Michael encountered recognizable figures, individuals he had crossed paths with throughout his journey, each carrying their own narrative of sorrow and aspiration. "Yet, this is not the conclusion," Michael persisted. "This is just the start. Every day, the true effort of cultivating a community unfolds. In the subtle exchanges, the bonds we cultivate, the customs we establish, and that, dear companions, is an experience we will share together." Following the speech, while families wandered through their new residences, Sarah made her way to Michael, accompanied by the twins and the infants. "You did it," she said softly, a true smile lighting up her face. Michael gave a slight shake of his head. "We accomplished it, together as a team." That evening, following the celebrations, Michael guided Sarah and the children to a unique house nestled in the center of the new neighborhood. With a smile, he revealed, "I have one more surprise." As he swung the door open, Sarah let out a sharp breath of surprise. The residence was ideal, ample yet inviting, adorned with elements that evoked memories of their previous dwelling. Photos of the family adorned the walls, their smiles watching over them. "Michael," Sarah murmured, her eyes glistening with tears. It is truly exquisite." "It's yours," Michael stated plainly. As she gazed at him, a swirl of emotions danced across Sarah's face, revealing her inner conflict. "Michael, it's overwhelming. I find it impossible to accept." Michael gave a slight shake of his head. "Kindly, Sarah. It's neither a burden nor a requirement. This marks a fresh start for you and the children, an opportunity to reconstruct your life within the community you played a significant role in shaping." Emma and Olivia flitted from room to room, their voices bubbling with joy at each new find. The infants, nearing their first birthday, observed with curious eyes from their strollers. Sarah paused for a brief moment, then gave a slow nod. "Thanks, Michael. This holds great significance for us." Several weeks passed, and the Thompson family had completely made their new house a home. Michael made frequent visits, maintaining a respectful distance, fully conscious that despite their shared history, he bore some responsibility for the pain they had initially endured. The first birthday of Ethan and Noah arrived in the blink of an eye. In the inviting backyard of her new home, Sarah hosted a delightful gathering, welcoming both neighbors and friends from the community. Michael, naturally, received an invitation, showing up with thoughtful gifts for the twins and a generous basket of plants for the community garden that Sarah had initiated. As he observed the children frolic and the adults engage in lively conversation, Michael was swept away by a surge of emotion. This moment, both unassuming and profoundly impactful, embodied the essence of his quest for atonement. With a warm smile, Sarah stepped closer, presenting him with a slice of cake. "I would love to hear what you're thinking," she said softly. Michael grinned, graciously taking the cake. "I truly appreciate everything, your support and the opportunity to make the right choices for our family." Sarah nodded, her eyes wandering over to the children. "It's funny, Michael, but when we first crossed paths, I couldn't stand you. I once believed you were the most despicable individual, yet now I realize that transformation is possible. Individuals can opt for improvement." "Thank you, Sarah," Michael responded, sensing the gravity of her message. "That signifies more than you might realize." Amidst the lively celebration, Michael pondered the path he had traveled. Once a cold, calculating individual driven solely by profit, he had evolved into a person who cherished the worth of others above everything else. He had his flaws and stumbled along the way, yet his dedication to learning and evolving was unwavering. Even though his bond with Sarah stayed purely friendly, a persistent echo of the intricacies of their history together, Michael recognized that he had discovered something far more precious than love. He discovered a sense of purpose, a path to redemption, and a form of family he had never thought could exist. As Emma and Olivia assisted the twins in unwrapping their gifts, and Sarah engaged in lively conversation with the neighbors, Michael came to grasp the genuine essence of community. It transcended mere structures or endeavors, it was fundamentally about relationships, about a sense of community. With a warm grin, he engaged with the children, assisting the twins in putting together their new toys. The future remained shrouded in uncertainty, and a great deal of effort lay ahead, yet for the first time in his life, Michael Reeves found himself precisely where he belonged, engaged in exactly the right pursuit. And in that moment, he understood what home truly meant.